it's Laura from Doggy U, and today we're going to be talking about the new regulations in regards to flying with your service dog, or ESA. Now, you know I've done a bunch of videos on how to fly to your dog, and I'll link them up here, but there is updated laws coming into effect early this year, 2021, and I want to go over all of those regulations so that you understand what flying with your service animal, or ESA, is going to look like going forward. So I want to start this video with a disclaimer. I don't work for the DOT. I am not a lawyer. I am just keeping up to date on the new laws regarding flying with your dog. So if you want to check out more information about this, I'm going to link the website below to the DOT so that you can read these regulations for yourself. And today we're going to discuss everything that's happening, and feel free to leave in the comments below any questions or how you're feeling about all these changes to flying with your dog. So in December of 2020, the Department of Transportation announced new rules regarding the ACAA, which is the Airline Characters Access Act, which are going to regulate and change the landscape for flying with your service dog. So I want to go over each one of the rules that are coming into effect so that you understand what this is going to look like going forward. The first rule is that the ACAA is now defining a service animal as a dog that is individually trained to do work to perform tasks for the benefit of the person with a disability. So that is in line with the ADA ruling about what a service dog is, but that was not how it was defined under the ACAA. A really important new rule is that they will no longer consider emotional support animals as service animals. So what that means is that all of you have been flying with your ESAs. These are now considered pets. All right, so your ESA is now considered a pet, and the service dog is the only animal that's going to be allowed to fly in cabin with you without paying the pet fee and without being under whatever the regulation is for that airline, like under 20 pounds and able to fit in a carrier under your seat. So now it's only service animals that will be able to fly. The next really important update to the rules are that psychiatric service dogs are now considered service dogs. That's not how they were previously categorized, and I think the way that they were categorized before, sort of like in the emotional support category, was perpetuating that idea that disabilities that you can't see or are somehow less of a disability than physical disabilities. So I'm really excited about this update to the regulations, because psych service animals should have always been lumped in under service animals, just like they are in the ADA. So the next new regulation is the ability for the airlines to require service dogs to fill out specific paperwork for their dog. This is a big change. And the forms that they can require a service animal handler to fill out are an animal health form, a behavior and training form, and if you're taking a long flight, you need to attest that the service animal can either not relieve itself during that flight or can relieve itself in a sanitary manner. This is a break from what has been allowed in the past, so this is going to be a totally new thing. Now, a lot of the airlines were requiring ESAs to fill out some form of paperwork similar to this, so it'll probably be similar to that. I don't know how that's going to roll out. I know that that's going to be a little bit of a challenge for some people. I'm not sure how I feel about it yet. If you have any feelings about that, make sure you put it in the comments so we can start a discussion about it. Hey y'all, this is me interjecting on my own video. Since I recorded this, I had some time to think more on this. One important clarification is that the DOT is allowing airlines to require these forms. It doesn't necessarily have to require them, but if the airline does choose to require them, they do have to use the DOT specific forms. Thinking about this further, what I'm thinking about is, couldn't we ask instead the two ADA questions? Are these forms accessible, especially to people who are blind? And is providing documentation another issue, a step backwards, from the ADA? So just some things that I'm thinking about. I would love to hear what you think about those things as well. They can also require that you fill out these forms and submit them at least 48 hours prior to flight if the flight was booked longer than 48 hours ago. So that's another change, that they need to have this paperwork in advance. So one of the really good things that these regulations change is the ability to check in online with your service animal. So previously, most of the time you would have to actually go to the airport to check in with your service dog, and that is inconvenient, and it also others people. So I think it's a really good change that they're moving towards. You can now check in online just like everybody else to be able to fly with your service animal. The next regulation allows the airlines to be able to ask you to bring your forms that you filled out to the gate when you're boarding with your service animal. This is kind of a minor one. I always bring my forms with me if I do need forms for traveling, so I think this one won't be too big of a deal, but again, it's something else to remember when you're flying. The next one is the regulations allow the airlines to limit the number of service dogs that any one person with disability can bring to 2 service dogs. I've never seen anyone use more than 2 service dogs ever. I'm guessing this is not a huge problem, but it is in the regulations. The next one that I think is going to be a little bit of a challenge is the fact that now the airlines are allowed to say that you have to be able to have your service dog fit in the seat space or the foot space that you're provided with your single seat. So that is going to be a challenge for some people that travel with very large mobility dogs, or even some of the German Shepherds that I work with are upwards of 90 pounds, and fitting them in just your foot space, it can happen. It's not comfortable for anyone. So I'm not sure how that's going to go going forward. It's definitely something to think about when you're choosing prospects for your service dogs. If you do fly a lot, this is something that we've always thought about is the size of your dog in relation to the amount of travel you do. But you might be wanting to, if you fly a lot, getting a slightly smaller dog that still fits your needs so that it can easily fit in your foot space. I don't know how they're going to regulate that. Are they going to kick you off the plane if your dog is a little, has a foot over in another passenger's foot area? But I do get it, because also the passengers that are traveling without a service dog do want to be able to put their feet in their foot space. So just something to think about. They are regulating that you have to be able to fit your service dog in your foot space. So really start practicing those tucks under the seat. So here's one that's a little bit of a departure from ADA law. The airlines can now require that your dog be harnessed, tethered, or leashed at all time while going through the airport and on the plane. Now, that seems to be a problem for me for some people who need their dog to be off leash to task. So that remains to be seen how that goes. I do know that I really like it better when a lot of people I see at the airport with their dogs kind of are showing off, heeling them off leash through the airport, that kind of thing, in a showy kind of manner. I do like the idea that, if your dog can be leashed to perform all of its tasks, then it probably should be, especially in a really busy airport, to make everyone else feel comfortable. I'm specifically thinking of this shepherd that I saw in the airport where it kind of got away from the owner when the owner was being a little bit showy with the dog, and it scared some people. So I think in general, requiring your dog to be leashed is a good safety technique. However, that does not account for, and it doesn't say in the regulations about dogs that need to task off leash. So I'm not sure how that one's going to go. The next one just continues to allow airlines to refuse transport to aggressive dogs or dogs that are some type of threat to the safety of those on the plane. This one is a no-brainer. Aggressive dogs shouldn't be service dogs. Like I always say, your service dog is not a rehab project. We need to have confident, well-tempered dogs being service dogs, and those that are aggressive or a threat or growling or barking or lunging or all of that should not be allowed to be traveling on a plane, because it does put everyone's safety at risk. And the regulations also continue to prohibit airlines from denying access based on breed. So yay, that's kind of a no-brainer one too. You can't regulate what breeds service dogs can be, and so the airlines can't do that either, which, common sense, that's a good one. The final rules will be in effect 30 days after publishing this in the Federal Registry. So they think is going to come up sometime in early 2021, so early this year, these rules will go into effect. So what do you think about all these new rules? I'd love to have a discussion about it in the comments below, so make sure you comment. How do you think this is going to affect service dogs and passengers as well, and what the whole airline scene looks like going forward? I think it's going to be really interesting to see how these rules play out in real life. and what that looks like in practice. But I think there's a lot of changes coming, and I just wanted to give you guys a good update of what's in the pipeline for rules for 2021. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Hit that little bell button so that you get notified anytime a new video comes out. If you want to see more content on service dogs or you have questions, comment below and we'll add them to the queue of videos that we're doing. Thank you guys so much for watching, and you have a great day. Happy training.
Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for our next video. Subscribe now and never miss an episode.